I'm Charlotte from the European Commission. As you can see from our beautiful new logo, I come from Brussels. For those of you who do not know about the recent changes in the European Commission, DJ Development has now merged with what used to be Europaid, and now we're called DJ DEVCO Europaid. So it's the project of the merge between development and Europaid, and the big development DJ that now handles all developing countries. First of all, I would like to welcome you on behalf of the European Commission and thank the co-organizers for all the work they put in what I'm sure will be a very stimulating and rich debate. And I'm just going to say a few words about the background of the ERD project in the name of the Commission. So actually the report is the product of a wider initiative, which is called, it's a big name too, Mobilizing European Research for Development Policies, which was launched in 2007. And this initiative is supported by the European Commission and 7 member states in alphabetical order: Finland, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Spain, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. We should have the French representative during the conference. The other member states I represent in the name of the steering committee. And then the purpose of this initiative is first and foremost to rely on independent quality research to enrich and inform EU policies. We hope to learn from the report and it has an impact on our policy. Then to build bridges between academics and policymakers, because the two worlds often do not interact. And that's true at the EU level, and of course with academics and policymakers beyond the EU. Stimulate debate on major development issues. Of course, we try to pick topics that are both important and timely in the wider international development arena. And, of course, enhance the EU's voice in development, because too often there is no specific EU vision or voice on development issues. So we rely on the report to help us develop and enhance that. So this is the third European report on development. The first report was the ERD 2009, which focused on overcoming fragility in Africa, forging a new European approach. You will notice that all the titles are quite long. This current one is the longest, they're never short. Yes. The ERD 2010 was on social protection for inclusive development, a new perspective, new cooperation with Africa. And those first two reports were written under the leadership of the European University Institute of Florence, and team leader Giorgia Giovanetti is here with us today. And then the third report, as Dirk explained, I'm not going to read the title again because it's too long. And we didn't skip a year. We just realized that previously we called them 2009 and 2010, but it always overlaps on 2 years. You start one year and you launch it the next year. So there's no gap. We just realized that our titles were not that smart. So what I wanted to insist upon is that the process of the ERD has always insisted on having a participatory approach. There's always, as Dirk explained, a series of consultations and workshops before starting to draft the report. It's very important to get input from as many stakeholders as possible, because this is a way to learn from each other and, of course, to enrich the draft and help improve the quality of the report. And what has been very important also is that we have always consulted with African stakeholders. This is the third ERD meeting on African soil. ERD 2009 was in Accra, 2010 in Dakar, and now in Nairobi. The first two reports focused on Africa. This one doesn't, but we're still in Africa. And I think it's an excellent example of cooperation between IRC and the ERD team, and it's also because it was an excellent research center we could rely on to organize this event. So just a brief word on why this topic from an EU point of view. As you may or may not know, we're in the process of coming up with new communication on a modernized agenda for EU development policy, and the main idea is to focus on impact and sustainable and inclusive growth. And this topic fits very well with this current reflection. There's been a green paper in November 2010 with the public consultation. Some of you may have participated, and there will be a communication coming out normally this October. Of course, the topic is very important with population growth, climate change, and growing pressure on the resources. So it's both a development and a security issue. And for the EU, as we're trying to have a holistic perspective on external relations with the new international external service and the Lisbon Treaty, it's very important to have such multifaceted issues. And the idea is not to look at it as a threat, but as a driver for development and sustainable and inclusive development. And of course, it's timely because the report will be launched before the Rio+20 major conference. So implication and challenges for EU policymakers. Also, what is very important in our current reflection is that we're very clear that ODA will never be enough. You have to find new ways to support partner countries' own efforts, and we're hoping the report will give us ideas on that. Also on building and strengthening partnership with other actors, and since this report has a focus on private sector, this is important. You can also probably criticize and give lessons to the EU on policy coherence, which in this topic will be quite important, if we expect that. And maybe help us find out what's the EU's added value, because why is there a European report on development on this, and what can we bring to the table? Last but not least, just to say, I know from personal experience, having been an ERD team member in the past, that it's a lot of work. You have a lot to do, very little time. As I said, lots of consultations, so a lot of feedback to digest and put into the report. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of passion. So I hope you will help the team in this conference refine the vision, provide useful feedback that they can use for the report, because we have a lot to do. And thank you, and I will leave the floor to my colleague from the EU delegation in Nairobi.